All right. Well, welcome everyone to the first quarter CEO donor call of our 2024-2025 fiscal year. My name is Kirsten Malik. I'm the Chief Development Officer here at Build, and I'll be your housekeeper for today in terms of I'll be monitoring the chat. If there are questions that you'd like to share or have Adam answer, or of course, as always, this is an informal environment and you're welcome to sort of take yourself off mute and you're welcome to just interrupt Adam if you have questions, clarifying questions, or something you'd like him to talk a little bit more about. We do cover a lot of ground in each call, and we always have a hard stop at quarter till. So Adam's going to talk for a little bit. He's going to take us through some slides. And then we'll leave a lot of time at the end for questions. So feel free to interrupt him. So with that, I'll hand it over to Adam Alonso, our key speaker for today. Hello, Adam.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad you could join us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this, we are on quarter one, so we're talking about July through September. If you haven't made it out to Build, this is actually our second mural that got completed in August, or was it September? I think it was started in August. Either way, Dwight White came back to, we always had plans for the north wall. It just took us a while to kind of figure out what it was exactly. And I think this is a great way that ties in both the farm, our young people, and there's also an update actually on the Laramie side, which we'll have to share at our next call what that looks like. But so for those of you who don't know, just what our mission to inspire hope and offer opportunities so youth facing systemic obstacles can achieve positive futures. What our service lines are in purple: intervention, prevention, education. We kind of think of those as our core programming. Intervention, we work with gang-involved, justice-involved young people, providing intensive mentoring, getting them an opportunity to re-enroll back in school or to find a job, basically changing and turning their lives from the streets to get back on a positive path. Our prevention work is typically done in schools, and it's working with high school, or elementary and high schools. And it's a way to prevent young people from joining gangs and making bad choices that might wind them up in trouble. Our education team is helping first-generation students of color navigate their way to college or career. Our enrichment services, I always think about those as sort of all the cool and fun things you want to do. Sports, arts, music, makerspace, kind of all the great things that young people enjoy doing. Our clinical and community wellness is our clinical team that provides one-on-one counseling, as well as group and family therapy as well. And then lastly, in green, our community engagements, the way that we engage community both out on the street, on their blocks, but that we are connected through to many groups and collaborations that we are part of, helping to make and improve families' lives and our communities as well. And on the left is just the way that young people get to build. And, first and foremost is that young people vote with their feet. So if they like what they're engaged in, then they invite their friends. And that's kind of how the circle starts of bringing folks into the work that we do. This is just a map that shows the greater sort of west side of Chicago, where we are located and doing our work. These are 23 schools that we are in. I think every year there's a couple of schools that get added on as we're growing our services, and the request from schools to come in and provide the work that we do. In terms of last year's budget was $16.9 million. This year, the board approved a $22.4 million budget. And this is reflective of responding to the needs in our neighborhoods, our communities. It's also two larger initiatives that I'll speak about a little bit later that we launched. SC2 and the violence prevention villages. And I'll get into that in a little bit later. Um, Lillian Hernandez, I don't have to read this to you. You can read it yourself, but really proud of our team and the work that they've done with Lillian. But just again, a reminder of why what Bill does is so important and what it means to young people. And sometimes it's just a kind word, a listening ear, but something that could really make the difference and have a young person kind of click and connect in ways that help them to feel different, to make different choices, and ultimately to be happy and hopeful, right, for their future, for the next days. Oftentimes I get asked, what is Build's secret sauce? And we know first and foremost, it's our people. We couldn't do what we do if it weren't for the folks throughout this entire organization, certainly on the front line, and everywhere from the back office and everyone in between. We know that everyone comes to work with a very deep concern and care for our young people. There's a desire to be there for them, meet them where they're at. And again, even when I think about, folks in finance or development, who may not be doing that direct service work, but a connection with young people, conversations with them, checking in, seeing how they're doing. Our core values of empathy, passion, persistence, and innovation also make up part of our secret sauce. And also what I'll share a little bit more about is our Hive work. So what is the Hive, you ask? Well, it's not the beehive, although that could be fun and cool too. But it's more like a literal beehive. And just to talk a little bit why I think this is part of our secret sauce and what exactly do I mean by a beehive, is that bees will protect their hive. And I know that everyone collectively at Build protects Build and the work that we do. Bees protect the queen, and we know that here at Build, we protect young people, and that is our priority, to keep them safe, both physically and emotionally. Bees will release an alarm pheromone to alert other bees. While we don't release pheromones, we do communicate, and that's going to be important in all that we do, in that strong communication. An entire colony will go on alert. And at Build, we work as one. And then worker bees may temporarily become guard bees. And so regardless of position, as I mentioned earlier, we all kind of spring into action. We're there for young people. And you might be thinking, Adam, what does this have to do with anything? I want to kind of paint the picture of this hive and then share with you a typical day this summer that demonstrates this hive work. So sort of to set the scene is that there is, Kirsten, can you see my pointer on the screen? Yep. So there's this group of young people, and I want you to pay attention to the car across the street, but I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So that guy getting into the car is Adolfo. He has been, or Scooby, as many people know him. He is wrapping up his day, getting ready to head home. He's watching this group of young people, just making sure. Watch these bikes as they roll by. There are three guys on bikes, completely masked, and he turns around to see the one who points his finger because the young person who runs in, unfortunately, has a target on his back. Adolfo, having witnessed this, runs back into the office and immediately goes in to alert the hive, if you will. He tells Angela, who's in charge of our intervention department. He tells Monique, our chief program officer. Ebony, who steps in, overhears him and says, wait, what's happening? Help me to understand. Kathy, our training director, also steps in. And so Adolfo is alerting the hive. And because that young man has a target on his back, Monique is actually calling the police because now we're really concerned about what potentially could happen. I'm going to pause this for a second to say that earlier this day, there was a fight between two young girls who were in the program in the morning and one of the staff. And we were able to get that resolved and settled. After that fight, there was a fight in the gym. We were able to get that fight resolved and get that situation settled. This day started off kind of in a way that felt electric, in a way that one thing after another, right? These sort of small dust ups within the organization, um, really being concerned about, what's happening. And there are days like this where it's like you think it's isolated and then something springs up and happens somewhere else. So these incidents weren't necessarily related to each other, but they all happened on this day. So staff were already on high alert. Then we have the situation with this young man who these three guys on bike were looking for. And you saw as he pointed at him, which basically meant, we got you. So I'm going to resume this video. So Pablo runs out, this young woman in yellow. So they're both interventions. So they're running out to make sure that these young people are safe. You see the kids here running back because now they want to come back in. There was a fight that I mentioned earlier, and they want to come back in and kind of keep this fight going. Our staff are scattered in between these young people who are walking, of course, both boys and girls, to see what's happening. And, we knew at this point that someone had a gun. And why Monique called, first because they threatened that young man, but also because we knew in this group someone has a gun. And it's scary to think these are high school age young people. And anytime there is a group of young people, the air was electric already. It was a lot that had happened earlier this day. Staff were a little on edge, concerned just about how things were happening in the environment. And now you have a group of kids, about 20 strong, who were looking for a fight. All the team members came out to try to make sure that these kids stayed safe, that there were no fights, and ultimately that no one gets shot. Because this is what it comes down to, is that we worry about someone getting shot. So the police arrived. They were able to talk with the staff, figure out what was happening. And I'm happy to report that later that day, I got a call from the commander that the gun was recovered from the young people, and that no one was shot, which is a blessing in itself. But I shared this earlier slide about a hive because that's exactly what happened in this moment. And this is all footage from our camera. So in case you're wondering, like, hey, how do you have all this footage? That's from our camera system, both outside and inside. But I think this was something that was not always easy to see in action, certainly. And then I was actually here this day with them in the midst of trying to figure out how we kept the kids safe. But we had people from finance, we had people from operations, training, program staff, probably about 30, 35 staff deep, who were here to make sure that this group of kids stayed safe and that no one was shot. And I'm proud of the work that they did, that they were behaving and acting as a hive, and that simple communication of Adolfo running back in, right? Because he was on his way home. He had already had a long day, but he knew that wasn't right and worried for that young person and worried for everyone else at Build. So he ran inside and activated the hive. And so I use this as a demonstration. We use this actually to share with all staff to say, this is how we operate. If you're new, you see something that you're worried about, feel free to go and tell someone, because someone will continue to notify the hive. So just wanted to share why this was an example of what is part of our secret sauce here, and the way that we operate, and the way that we want to always be present and show up every day for our work, is to be in close communication, and of course to make sure that we don't do it alone. So that was July 17th. I want to transition now to the end of summer as we get through August. And this is just, as you all may recall, we do a big end of summer bash. We always do it in partnership with Michelle Clark and about 20 other different nonprofits throughout the day. But this is what it looks like to try to make sure we have an event that's safe, that's organized with all sorts of great things for young people to do. And this is just a simple smattering. We had about 2,000 youth and families. It was a beautiful day. Rides, inflatables, interactive booths, lots of good information, music. It was just a great time. And this went until 6 o'clock in the evening. Happy to report that this went off without a hitch. It was great. Again, we always want to make sure that any event that we do in the community, everything that we do for young people is about safety. And this is one of those things that, again, all sorts of young people who were there, even from different factions, but we were able to keep this a safe event for everyone to enjoy. So this was summer number 2 for us in our new building, our summer of possibility, investing in peace. We had over almost 300 summer campers across 5 sites this summer. We had 400 youth employed across multiple build programs and locations across the city through One Summer Chicago. So it was great to have young people who were working, learning life skills, learning employment skills and soft skills. And then, of course, the end of summer bash. So a lot of fun, a lot of good learning. And just when I think back to it, I'm just gonna go back to this slide because when I look at this, it almost feels like, holy cow, like we've done this now for what, 4 or 5 years, maybe longer. But when I really have time to sort of think about what it takes to really pull this off, it just feels miraculous at times because it's a large operation. You got a lot of people, you got to worry about safety. But everyone enjoys this and everyone comes up, they show out in such a great way. The partners are there, they're engaging. Like it's just the best type of summer event you want to be a part of. In September, we held our donor appreciation brunch. We're very grateful to those on the call, to those far and wide who support Build. We're happy to give tours. We had a youth panel. We also had a tour of the Austin neighborhood. So it was a trolley tour, had great information and great sort of sights to see in the community. Kirsten, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add about our donor appreciation brunch. We had
No, we loved hosting it. It was our first one that we had since pandemic, and so we were really happy to bring this event back to everyone. People have told us that they really love the youth panel. It's a real chance to sort of spend some unhurried time with our young people and talk to them about what their experiences have really been like, talk with staff, and really get that time to feel the impact of your support and what Build can do. So we love doing it. We can't wait to do it again next year and hope to see all of you guys there.
Yeah. Chef Sebastian White did the cooking for the brunch, which was great and well received. And he does cooking programs with us, and he'll start back up in the new year. So thanks again for all of you who make our work possible. So just some quick program highlights, also just kind of flashbacks from the summer. We held our first ever caddy program, which was teaching young people about caddying, getting them connected, and as an opportunity for a job. Midnight basketball did not disappoint, continued to have the numbers that showed up every night. Thursday night, which we were open until midnight, to be there to have a safe space to play ball. And the county fair kind of wrapped up in September. That mechanical bull got a lot of action and just farm and food. And again, lots of information both in the front part of Build and also in the lot. And then, getting ready to launch fall programs. But I want to share this short video on our caddy program.
I happen to have grown up in Austin in the, I hate to say 1940s and 1950s. I spent most of my life at Columbus Park. We played golf right on this course. I thought that we were underutilizing Columbus Park, and I got Mark Thornton involved, and things really started to move. Over the next couple of weeks, I made some contacts at the Park District, and we had a meeting here in Columbus Park at the Field House. We had Troon and we had Western Golf Association, and the meeting ended like I was really excited how committed these people were to make something happen on the west side.
I was hearing rumblings about Build in the city of Chicago talking about a caddy program at Columbus Park. And I said, Mark, I've been doing it for 30. I can help. And at that, it didn't take long for us. He got the kids, we got the volunteers. We just start hit.
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel more responsible. Whenever I wake up, say I'm tired, but I have to go to the golf course, I kind of push myself through instead of just staying back.
It's been really fun getting to meet different people throughout the course. I really like expanded my social skills.
It might seem like a hard job or a boring job, but it's really not. And it's fun.
What I learned about it's a cool sport and you get paid a lot of money. And it's very peaceful.
Hey, this is a wonderful thing. Can't express how happy I am that this is happening.
If there's 30 kids want to play golf, we're going to figure out how to handle 30 kids. If there's 10, we're going to handle 10. When Bill gets committed to a program, we do an outstanding job.
All right. Good times with our caddy program. I wanted to just give you some updates on the new initiatives I had mentioned earlier, our Violence Prevention Village pilot, and then our scaling CVI, which stands for Community Violence Intervention for a Safer Chicago. Our Violence Prevention Villages, which, as you may recall, if this is your first time hearing about it, it's our upstream anti-violence model for Chicago. It really is about embedding a large team of Build's core programming in with a school in partnership with the principal, and then supporting families and actually entire households. We believe that when we can help a household to be stable, young people can come ready to learn in school and then be able to enjoy themselves as kids after school as well. So we knew that we would have one full school, that's Leland Elementary, our full model with the largest team, 17 members, and then two partial schools, Nash and Ellington, which each have 7 to 8 staff apiece. We're almost complete with staffing. We've built good relationships with students and staff and families. We just launched our after school program a couple weeks ago in partnership with our principals. Therapy, mentoring, classroom support, schools are really pleased, and I know our partial sites would love to be full sites as soon as they possibly could. The thing about this process is that we are doing learning loops every week. And the importance of the learning loop is that we don't need to wait a year to find out that we could have made some changes to make it better. Every week, our teams get together, they check in, they understand with school personnel and principal what's working, where's some tweaks to the services, or how best to serve a family or a young person. And so we're able to make those adjustments in real time, which has been great. And excited about, the upcoming holidays and events that we'll be doing with our family and our communities. Switching gears to scaling CVI, and this is about scaling up community violence intervention. We are a partner in this effort in Austin. The Institute for Nonviolence is the lead organization. We are a partner with Together Chicago, and in Humboldt Park also is the lead partner. And there are a few other organizations in partnership with us. But here you see, in terms of the staffing, what it takes. I think we are at about -1 position, I think, or 2. We are almost to full hiring of these positions. They've launched the work. Austin, because our approach in Austin is actually to do outreach as well. So we are working closely with the other organizations to identify the young people who need services, who are connected on the street, and working with them to get them off the street and into a better situation for themselves. In Humboldt Park, our responsibilities there are specifically to respond as victim advocates and victim services, and then therapy as well. So we have a more of a full model in Austin and a partial model in Humboldt Park. And things so far have been going well. I know there's a big update in Humboldt Park today with elected officials and communities. So we'll all be there this afternoon to kind of share in the work and the success that we're having so far. So I may have mentioned this at our last call. You know, part of what's interesting about the expansion of community violence intervention work, it really kind of lends it, because that starts at 18, so 18 and up. And part of why we launched the Violence Prevention Village was really in response to seeing challenges in elementary schools, and that our young people were really struggling with mental health issues. There were more acts of violence and outbursts in elementary schools, and knowing that we needed to do something different than we had before. So we, as Build, launched the Violence Prevention Village. What I had done before we even launched it was really checking in with my colleagues across the field, asking them what they were seeing in elementary schools, and all of them repeatedly said that they were seeing the same thing. So we had come together to really have conversations and talk through the challenges and why it's important to try to get to families and young people much earlier, and as a way to strengthen communities, but also stem violence. So fast forward to we're hosting the summit in December. We're grateful that we have the state Department of Human Services. We've got the Justice Advisory Council representing the county, and Department of Family Support Services, and the mayor's office representing the city. So sort of the key government folks who will be in support of this. Plus, we have a lot of great foundation partners who are excited for this summit, and happy to sort of support the work in organizing. Ultimately, the summit really is about raising the profile, funding, and quality of prevention work so that we can reach our families earlier. And in the same way that CVI, you know, so many lessons learned from them, that they came together to really create this plan that attacks violence. We need both. We need the CVI work, and we need the upstream work. And so we're really pushing our sort of the state, city, and county to really think about how do we come and grapple with and put together a plan around prevention that is complementary to the work and the opposite side of what CVI does, but that they're connected, right? This isn't a competition. This is that we need both. And so the investment upstream and prevention, positive development, we know is a way to really lessen the amount of young people who show up in the CVI space. So excited for that. And there's a lot of good planning and thinking around the agenda and sort of this World Cafe model that we'll launch that day as well. October 31st. I mean, can't be more excited for Halloween, and we're going to do it. It looks like the weather is going to hold up. Some rain earlier in the day, but the time of trick-or-treating, fingers crossed, say your prayers that it doesn't rain. It will not snow, which is good. Last year we didn't know what to expect. So come, I can tell you that the spooky farm maze just got bigger than it was last year. So all sorts of fun and exciting activities on the farm and in the gym. November, we'll have our 1,000 turkey giveaway. We're grateful to our donor who has been supplying turkeys for the last, 4 years, Kirsten, or since actually, I think the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yep. And then our winter coat giveaway. So we have a busy November as well. And then, of course, we're hosting, this is our sort of to scale first. We did it last year with 4 two social enterprises or three and a small business owner to sell their products for Christmas. And so this year, I just looked at the list before getting on a call. We have 32 vendors. So we'll be in the gym, in the hallway. So if you're looking to support Black and brown small businesses, entrepreneurs, social enterprises, come shop with us. Lots of great things will be for sale that day. So, and then just ways to think about, hey, I'm excited about the things you're doing. How could I get involved? This year, we've created these holiday giving villages. So a donor, a company can adopt a school. Each school will have a wish list for our young people. Some schools have 60 in their enrollment, some have 40. But either way, if you'd like to get involved, we can find a space for you. You can support a scholar. So those who are in college, you can send care packages, write notes, support a trunk party if they may need some supplies when they get ready to go. But it really is a cool way to help a young person who's going away to college for the first time. And then, of course, all these fun events that we have is a way to engage kind of as a one-time, but you get to engage with community and young people. So lots of ways to think about that as well. And Kirsten, you can always circle back with her or myself if you have any interest. And then last but not least, just looking way ahead, is that our gala is early this year. So typically it's May 3rd, May 4th, has been actually Cinco de Mayo on some years. But we, due to a scheduling snafu, I think at our event space, we've actually pushed it back to April 11th. So it's a little bit earlier, same place at the Garrity. So we hope to see you all there. And thank you. So we'll take any questions that you may have. I'm going to end the slideshow.
Yes, thank you to people who have put questions to me in the chat. Please feel free to put more or just to unmute and ask them right off. But in the meantime, I do have one question that came in, Adam, which is, how did you select the schools where you have located the violence prevention villages?
Yes, so these are schools that we have had a previous relationship with. So the school knew us, we knew the school, we had been doing work in there. So it made it easier as a starting point. And so that's how those schools were selected. And ultimately, it was the willingness of the principal and the leadership of the school that wanted to be a part of this.
The questions, I have one more that came in through the chat. Oh, but Jeff, yes?
And unmute there. The schools where you have the violence prevention program, but is that the same school that you're looking for tutors to go to, or
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, the tutors are at Erie, Adam. So this
Oh,
is
at Erie.
volunteer.
So I thought it was a different one.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
different schools.
Okay.
Yes, but that's a great point, Jeff. Like we have, if any of you are not on the volunteer opportunities email list, if you want to sign up for that, there are lots of other ways to get engaged in that sense. And the sort of weekly tutoring sessions at Erie in Humboldt Park is one of them. I had another question just came in over the chat, which is, what is your sense of this past summer in general in terms of a violence prevention mission?
This summer was good, honestly. I shared with you what happened on a Wednesday, July 17th, but that had a positive outcome. And fights, disagreements, kids dusting up is the expected anytime you do youth work. And as long as, no one gets seriously hurt, injured, or loses their life, things are all manageable. And so this summer, though, was good. We learned a lot last summer, so we tightened up controls where we needed to. We listened and really wanted to make sure that our young people and the things that they would like to see, we were able to do. Field trips, sort of what the days and activities would look like. We adjusted accordingly. But overall, this was a good, safe, successful summer. And I think, we continue to sort of share and train our teams. And even though we're onboarding a lot of new people, I think what becomes clear is everyone understands sort of their duty and responsibility to all kids. And that is one thing that we share. It's an onboarding that regardless of position or title, everyone's responsible for our kids. And I think in that situation in particular, if we look at that day, just to call it out, our first line of sort of what we do when there are fights with young people is that builder the first line of defense. The second would be our security, and that's really to kind of aid and assist in helping to move kids up and break them up, and maybe even secure the perimeter if we need to, just to make sure no other kids run in to try to join. And then our last call is always going to be to the police. They are not the first folks we call. Security is not the first group of people we call. And so because we sort of operate in that tiered approach, I think we've been able to manage and support our young people and be successful that way. So yes, a lot to say. It was a great summer, and I'm proud of the work that our teams did.
Thank you. Any other questions from the crew? Comments or thoughts? I did get a note from Tina who had to drop off or about asking about the violence prevention villages. I'm sorry, the holiday giving villages. And for details about that, happy to present details for that. We'll be sure to send out the flyers to everyone on this call. And also, of course, if you follow us on social media, you can see details there. And yes, anyone can sign up for those. You don't have to necessarily be part of an official, it doesn't have to be an employer initiative,
right,
or anything like that. It can just be a group of
Yep.
friends or your family, what have you. Yes, Jeff.
Are they going to the giving villages and the other coat drive and things like that? Are they going to be on an email?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do believe that they've been on some past volunteer notes, but they'll be on coming up this week as well.
I say that because it's easy for me to share them with my friends if they're on email.
Mhm.
So hopefully, thanks.
It's a great one. We'll send them out in a shareable form. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Great. Wonderful. Yes, Lisa.
I just wanted to say thank you to you and Adam for sharing that story about the difficult day you dealt with, because it's transparent and it gives us a lot of trust in you and your staff, and kind of reinforces your staff are your secret sauce. So that was just really incredible to see them leap into action.
Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't until we had to do some sort of rewinding of footage, because a lot of when these things happen, we go to what could we have done differently? What was the learning? When that fight happened in the gym, which I didn't share that with you, but where were staff? Were they positioned right? Was this something that we could have avoided or not? So there was a lot of learning through that. Then obviously as this arose and we looked through it, because I was trying to figure out what was the sequence of events that led to this group of young people trying to come back. And that's when that was for me this big aha moment to see Adolfo run back in. And I'm not always privy to kind of see all these things that happen in this way. I was here and jumped right into the mix of it. So I remember that day very vividly. But I'm very proud. And I felt in the midst of all that, which might seem chaotic in the moment, everyone was scared. When you feel the electricity like that, you feel it. You can't deny it. But when the next day and sort of reviewing through this, I was like, I'm so proud of everybody. Because the worst that you don't want to see or hear, right, is someone losing their life. And unfortunately, that's the reality today. But to see how everyone jumped into action, no one questioned, no one said, well, that's not my kid. I work in a different program. Everyone showed up because we all understood the depth of it. So thank you, Lisa. And I share that because that was the first time I'd actually kind of pieced it and saw it all together in the way that it happened. So we use that actually as part of our training too, so people understand how we operate. So I'm glad to share that with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining the CEO donor call today. As you know, we have these every quarter. Please feel free to join us, but we will be posting this video up on our YouTube channel so you can share it with anyone else. So, you know, as ever, Build is only here because our donors have supported us and had faith in us to grow the way we have and to do the work with the confidence and scope that we have. So thanks to all of you. Thanks to you for being here, for staying so invested and engaged. And we appreciate you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Adam.
Have a good
Thank you,
afternoon.
Kirsten.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.